5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome to the GHT Overland Podcast, where we visit with overland travelers and explorers around the globe, learning from their experiences and enjoying their stories. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. We are from a little city called Washougal in Washington State, known as the entrance to the Columbia River Gorge. Today's featured guests are Jack and Jemma, who are currently 1 month into a year-long adventure traveling around Australia with their dog Ace. For our U.S. listeners, their vehicle of choice is the Troopcarrier version of our Toyota Land Cruiser. Jack and Jemma have a love for camping and the outdoors, spending every long weekend and holiday possible exploring and overlanding in Australia. They've taken a year of an in-depth planning with disciplined savings to make their overlanding dream possible. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hi, thanks Chris and Lisa. Thanks for having us.
Hi guys.
Absolutely, an absolute joy to have you guys connect with us all the way from Australia. Tell me, what time is it there?
So it is currently nearly 12:30, so you're looking at lunch on Monday, so Monday the 5th, and we've got a beautiful sunny day here. It'd be about probably nearly 30 degrees, and it's...
Celsius.
Yeah, degrees Celsius, sorry. And we're just, at the moment, camping alongside the Snowy River, which is just beautiful. We've been here for 2 nights so far, and yeah, just sort of going a couple days at a time. We may stay here tonight and tomorrow night yet to make that decision.
That's awesome. So we are obviously on the opposite end of the world. It's still Sunday here. It's Sunday evening, about 5:18 going on 5:30. It's in the U.S. Super Bowl Sunday today. And probably, it's overcast and somewhere around 50 or so. So I'd love to transport myself right where you guys are.
Yeah,
sounds pretty nice.
Complete opposites.
Not without me.
Yeah, defrost.
Yes, Lisa would be transported with me, just to be clear.
Yes,
She would not
just
go
to
anywhere
confirm.
without me. So tell us a little bit more about you guys, where you come from or where you're currently at and where home is.
So home for us is in Adelaide, which is South Australia. So we both live in the town. So we both live in Adelaide at the moment. I'm originally from 2 hours north. So I grew up on a family farm that I try to get back to as much as we can. We grew up camping and adventuring outdoors. And then once we moved to Adelaide, we got to see how the other side the other side live, I guess, the best of both worlds. So I got my city experience while also getting out and adventuring on the weekends and when we could.
Yeah, I was born in Adelaide, have always lived there. My grandparents had a farm growing up, so we spent a lot of time getting out. We make great use of our Murray River here, where we grew up on houseboats and speedboats and doing all sorts of water sports, and definitely gave us a push in the right direction to become the campers that we are today.
So as we learned in your intro, guys, you've been traveling for just about a month in a year-long planned trip around Australia. So tell us how this all started for you.
Well, it was something we'd spoken about doing for quite a few years. We just never put a plan into concrete. It was on the first day of work for 2017 when I walked in the door after work, looked Jemma in the eye and said, "We leave in a year today." And we pretty much started planning from there on, and that's exactly what we did. We left a year to that day.
That's awesome. And you actually left a year from that day as well.
Yeah, it was pretty much bang on the day.
Yeah, we just waited for Christmas and New Year to spend time with our friends and family, and then, see you later.
Wow, that's great. You guys are good planners.
Well, yeah, if we figured we didn't have a date, we might have just kept pushing it along and having excuses or things to do. So, yeah, we had to set a date.
We set a date and we aimed for it, and that was pretty much our goal the whole year.
Yeah, and you got it. So congratulations. That's great. So tell us a little bit more about your vehicle that you're using.
So it's a 2000 model Toyota Land Cruiser Troopcarrier. So it's a straight diesel, no turbo, and I've had it for just under 2 years. I purchased it in country South Australia off a man who was the original owner. He bought it brand new. It was in very good condition and it had relatively low kilometres on it, so it was love at first sight when I seen it. It popped up for sale. I drove out to the country town and made the purchase, and we pretty much went from there. It was stock standard. Spent the last couple of years fitting it out with all the necessary equipment to make it my ultimate tourer, and that's where it stands today. We've put all the bar work on it, the roof rack, the dual wheel carrier on the rear. We've fitted the inside out as a camper, meaning that we have our bed at halfway and our kitchen and everything else is on a slide that pulls out underneath the bed. So it's a pretty simple setup, but it certainly is working for us so far.
So I know that when we're traveling, there's that one piece of equipment that I can't live without. So is there one thing either on or in your vehicle you value the most? Something our listeners should unquestionably either have or look into getting?
So definitely we like to think it's our fridge. So we, obviously use it every day. It's a fridge freezer combo. So we use a 60-litre Engel. We can run freezer and fridge, or at the moment we just run the freezer as a fridge and then the fridge side as a cool room, which allows us to store all our fresh fruit and veg. And then we can have the milk and the meat and that sort of thing in the fridge side, things that are open. And then we can also, maybe if we're heading in sort of the outback, we could run it as a full freezer setup. But at this stage, the fridge and the cool room works best for us because we can do our shopping, which will be, we can shop for at least 5 days or a week in the bigger towns. And then we find that's a bit easier because we don't have to duck into these little towns and buy at their sort of general stores, which just help us save a bit more cash as well.
Okay, that's really good. So anything you originally packed that you never used or have removed from your gear?
This one's, a bit funny. So when we were packing, obviously I had a fair bit of clothes in my wardrobe back home, and then having to fit it into a much smaller box. Jack was very kind to remove some car things for me, and I've got my own box that can completely pull out from the car, and I've got my clothes and things in there. But yeah, going from a big wardrobe to a small box, how big would you say it would be?
Oh, it's size of a average size toolbox. When we originally left, I knew we both had too much clothing on us. I just said, let's just hit the road with what we've got and we'll sort of figure out what we're going to wear. And at the first opportunity we had, which was when we got into Melbourne,
which was a week later.
Yes, it was only a week into our trip. We unloaded at one of my friend's house probably 3/4 of our clothes between us.
Yeah,
oh,
Jack.
Wow.
Yeah, Jack went from having 3 drawers of clothes down to you've got it squeezed into a backpack.
It's all in a backpack now. And the
Nice.
3 drawers that I originally had my clothes in, we've converted to a pantry for a lot of our food. And honestly, I don't know how we would have done it without it. We've taken up every space of those 3 drawers. And yeah, it's a much better setup now. One other thing we didn't bring, and I'm pretty glad we didn't, right up until the day we left, I had our kayak on the roof. It was a double-seater kayak, so it was quite heavy and quite large. It used to take up half the roof rack. When we were running that setup, it meant our trestle table and our 30-second tent used to be on our bed. So even if we were to just pull up for a night, we would always have to get the table and the tent at minimum out, and we would either lean it up against the side of the car or we would slide it under the car. Leaving the kayak at home meant that we could put all of that on the roof. Now we have the ability just to be able to pull up to a camp. If it's late at night, we literally just have to turn the car off and we can jump into the bed, which I really like.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, good. So tell us about your current top 2 or 3 destinations that you've been to, along with a little detail on what made them extra special for you so far.
Yeah, so being only a month into our trip, we probably would mention the Great Ocean Road. So for a lot of people travelling Australia, it's a pretty iconic, bit of road there. You've got along the 12 Apostles, and it's a great coastline. It's just really beautiful. We probably weren't blessed with the greatest weather on that trip. When we were down there, it took us about a day to cruise through. It was quite windy. We had to dodge the clouds of rain before jumping out the car to see the sights, but I guess you can't pick and choose that.
It's a really great road. It's you feel like you're pretty much driving on the water at some points. It's right along the coast. It's built into the cliff, and it's definitely an iconic place that most people that come to Australia sort of head straight for.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
I would say my favourite trip part that we've done so far would be the high country in Victoria. I have never been up there before, so it was just amazing to be driving across the top of mountains that during the winter are completely covered in snow. It was almost surreal.
Yeah.
You can see for miles, and you can see the next mountain over the next mountain, and we spent a couple of days driving through there and only passed one other person the whole time, so it really gives you that sense of being remote as well.
And where we passed them wasn't the easiest spot to pass a car.
Yeah, it's a single track.
Oh, was it pretty tight?
Yeah, very tight. I think I was looking down a cliff pretty much, just watching the wheels, being like, ah! Yeah, you got a little bit further to go.
The person who we were passing coming the opposite direction was good enough to drive half up a wall, and we had to bend our car mirrors in, and we just squeezed through, but it was awesome and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
So I know the kitchen is a great area for myself because I like food. Mm-hmm. So what does your average meal setup look like?
So we really enjoy cooking. So every night or every day we're making our own food. So we have a 2-burner gas stove, which we pull out. Jack makes his coffees in the morning. And then we've also been making our omelettes as well. And then we also have recently just bought a Webbecue, which doubles as an oven. So this is,
It's given us the ability that we can now cook any meal as we would at home. We have the cooktop and we have the oven, so it's opened up a lot of options for us.
Yeah, and being on the road for a year, we figure we better invest in our health, really.
And is that a brand of barbecue, a Webbecue?
Yeah. So it's a brand of barbecue. It doubles as an oven, so you most of the time cook with the lid shut, and it has a temperature gauge on it, so we can set it at 180 and cook all our meals. We had salmon for dinner in there last night, which was delicious.
We also had cannelloni, which I didn't think we would be able to have this year of travelling. It's sort of like a luxury of being at home with a big oven.
Gemma's favourite meal.
But yeah, they're really great. They come in 3 different sizes. So we have the baby Webbecue, which is just perfect for us. We definitely wouldn't need a bigger size.
Yeah, it's nice and compact, and obviously we had a space issue in the car. We've got quite a bit in here already, so we went for the smaller size, which, I wouldn't have gone any bigger. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then we also have just a small cast iron camp oven that we chuck straight on the coals when we're having a fire. And recently we did we've been picking some wild blackberries off the side of the road, and we had a blackberry damper in it the other night, which was just delicious. The damper just consists of flour and water, so it's quite a basic meal, but it was beautiful to add the blackberries into it that we got locally and wild free. And then we went into the shops the other day, and they were selling about 200 grams of these blackberries for $5. We probably picked about 3 kilos worth, I think.
Yeah, so it definitely tastes better when it's free.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And so the kitchen just is it's all slide out with the fridge. We slide the fridge out, and then we have a table that also slides out underneath the fridge. But if we're going to get the barbecue out, we pull our big trestle table out and we sort of set kitchen up outside. Just gives us a bit more room to work with for the big meals.
Yeah, and we've also really been enjoying cooking outside. Adds to it, the experience, I think.
Can you give a little bit more detail on I think you called it a cannelloni?
Yep, sure. So it's just like a pasta dish. So you've got the pasta tubes. Unfortunately, we don't make the pasta ourselves. So yeah, and it's just got spinach and ricotta and a bit of onion and some garlic, and you sort of just fill the pasta tubes, and then you cook the can of tomato with all your herbs and spices.
It's similar to a lasagna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just I guess it's a vegetarian meal, but we chock it full of beans and pumpkin and broccoli as well. So yeah, we're definitely still been eating very well.
And Jack, what is your favorite?
My favourite meal would be the homemade pizzas that we've been making, also in the barbecue. So we've been roasting the vegetables first, getting them nice and crispy, and then putting it all on the pizza base, put that in there. Jem has been eating them pretty much vegetarian, but I add chicken and bacon and fill it up nicely, and that's what we're having for dinner tonight. I'm very excited about it.
It's lunchtime at the moment. I think it's making us hungry.
Yeah, I bet it is. How are you guys planning and shopping for groceries? Maybe give our listeners a look into what you found so far that works best for you and that planning process, and like what kind of a grocery store do you go to, and give us kind of your inside view there.
Yeah, no worries. So like we said earlier when we were talking about the fridge, we like to try go between 5 and 7 days between shops. That just gives us the ability to be able to stay out in the bush a bit longer and not constantly having to drive into towns. So when we do pass a big town, we've already written our shopping list by the time we get there, so we know what we're going to get. That saves us buying anything extra and lugging around any unnecessary food that we don't need.
Or buying lollies and snacks.
It also keeps us out of the snack aisle, which has been great.
Yeah.
We've been eating probably healthier on the road than we were at home. So like I said, when we're in the towns, we shop at our big supermarkets in Australia are either a Coles or a Woolworths, just because in the small towns the inflated prices are through the roof, and it definitely helps save us a bit of money. And in this month that we've been on the road, we've yet to have to buy any eggs from a supermarket. We've been lucky enough to pick all of our eggs up farm fresh on the side of the road for once again cheaper than it is in the shop. And with us both having omelettes every morning, which is eggs with anything chucked in with it, we've been going through the eggs pretty quickly. So that's definitely been something we've been looking out for. We see an egg sign and we hit the brakes and do a U-turn and go buy some.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to pull up into a farm and then be actually to see the chooks running around. So it's like, oh yeah, that's where our eggs come from. They look pretty happy.
Yeah, that's good. And how are you guys doing laundry on the road?
So laundry, once we're in the bigger towns, we can pull into laundry mats and sort of do the bigger things like our sheets, jumpers, etc. and stuff like that. But once we're sort of camped up alongside rivers and lakes, we often just fill the bucket and just do a little bit of hand washing.
Doing it old school.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we can also sort of tie... Jack's got a couple of ropes that he ties to trees so we can hang out the washing there to dry, so save the extra cost without having doing it at the dryers. Yeah,
and sometimes it's even been as simple as I'll come back from a run pretty hot and sweaty and just jump straight in the water fully clothed.
Job done.
There you go.
Job done.
Yeah.
So that hits the hygiene list.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just jumping right in the
Chucking
river.
a bar of soap.
We have a 12-volt shower that we can mount to the side of the car. We've been camping on water most nights, whether it's a river or a lake, or it's been fresh water 90% of the time. So we have just been filling our bucket and having cold showers mainly, but when the weather's been a bit cooler, we just boil the kettle and mix a 50-50 mix of warm water, and it's definitely not luxury, but we've been having some decent showers. And then we use an app on our phone called WikiCamps, which has, I would say, almost all of the campsites on Australia listed on it. And it also has points of interest, which include hot showers and things like that. So we've been lucky enough to pull into some big towns. We get our phone out and go, oh yeah, there's a shower over here. And we just take that opportunity. We go and have a shower then, which has definitely been helping us save water, because that's definitely one of our main necessities, I would say. And there's also been times where we've rung around a few of the local caravan parks and just popped the question, do you guys allow campers to come have a shower? And instead of paying the $20, $30, $40 a night to stay at the caravan park, they charge only $2 or $3 just to have a shower, and then we can head back out to our free camp and we stay out there. We've been free camping every night, so that's been great.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so a bit of insider knowledge, I guess, what we've learned on the road so far.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. I've just rang around a few and they said, yeah, no worries, see you in a minute.
Okay, great. Tell us about your number one biggest challenge so far you've had to overcome on the road. Maybe it was a time that you were stuck, or maybe facing a decision on whether or not to turn around.
Yeah, look, as we said before, passing on those extremely narrow roads in the high country was both exciting and scary. But I would say probably our biggest, it's not yet been too much of a challenge, but travelling with the dog is definitely limited us. Obviously in Australia here, dogs are not allowed in national parks.
What? No dogs?
That caught me off guard too. There's always a few extra challenges when we're overlanding with our four-legged friends.
Okay, so I don't know that I could be Jemma in that passenger seat. I mean, I don't think I'm afraid of heights, but on the high roads with the cliff, no guardrail.
In that case, you're afraid of heights.
This episode of the GHT Overland Podcast with Jack and Jemma is our longer format interview. So we split these into 2 episodes for your downloading pleasure. Don't worry, new episodes are released each Thursday. In the next episode, Jack and Jemma finish telling us about their challenges in overlanding through Australia with their dog Ace.
Yep, and it's a good idea to visit the show notes page on our website at ghteoverland.com, click on podcasts, then select the Jack and Jemma episode. All the details and helpful links in this episode are already there for you. Be sure to give us your feedback and questions or suggestions to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. Check out the GHT Overland Alexa skill as well on your Alexa app. Go to Skills and search GHT Overland. We'd love to hear what type of format you'd get the most value from there. Did you know you can also say, Alexa, play the GHT Overland podcast?
Now, before you race off, it would mean the world to us, and I mean the entire globe. Please share the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review. Give GHT Overland some love so we can reach as many overlanders as possible, passing on priceless experience, knowledge, and stories of overlanders doing good in the world. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday over on part 2. What are you waiting for? Go give us some podcast love with a subscribe, rate, and review. Bye.